All right, back to our top story right now. This morning, we're learning new information about the death of Eve Rogers.
Yeah, she's the 12-year-old girl who was found dead in her house back in March. And now, new court documents show a lethal dose of a common medication was found in her body the night that she died. Your reporter, Anna Stansfield, live outside the police department with everything we've learned. So, Anna, what's the new information?
Well, 5 new search warrants are showing us a lot more about the death of Eve Rogers. They show us that the 12-year-old girl had a lethal dose of diphenhydramine, also commonly known as Benadryl, in her system the night she died. It's been 4 months since Eve Rogers' death, and this morning, still no one has been charged. Pills were found next to her body, and police say she was undressed from the waist down, covered by a blanket. DNA swabs from a sexual assault kit performed on Rogers after she died positively matched her stepfather, Anthony Federline. He was arrested in April and charged with sexual assault and risk of injury to a minor. But right now, questions still linger about who is responsible for her death. A toxicology report now shows Rogers had 23,000 nanograms per milliliter of diphenhydramine, also known as Benadryl, in her system when she died. That's more than 5 times more than a lethal dose for children. On top of that, the medical examiner found Prozac in her system as well. Right now, investigators are working to find out how she had access to these drugs and how they got into her system.
Any medication, it's a chemical ingested at higher dosing than recommended or safe dosing is not good and could result in bad outcomes.
And police have now requested search and seizure warrants for Rogers' stepfather's both Amazon and CVS purchase histories from the beginning of the year leading up to her death in March. I'm your reporter live in Enfield, Anna Stansfield, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Anna, thank you.